I am so sorry. Please, that was completely my fault. I asked him to pull over and I didn't see the puddle.
I'm all right.
Let me give you something for a new one. I insist.
No.
Please,
No, sir. Thank you. I'm fine.
it's the least I can.
It's the most you could do. And it's still not necessary.
Miss,
Tables could turn. Have a good morning.
have a good morning.
Subscribe to African Truth and Tales, and tell me where you're watching from. Before we go on, hold on to one thing. Character is not what you show when everything is going well. It is what you show when the water hits you and you still have somewhere to be. Now let me show you who Ruto Moyo actually is, what she was walking toward, and the 11 days she had left before everything she had built in this country disappeared. Ruto walked. The dress had stopped dripping. The burgundy was darker on the left side where the water had hit hardest. The fabric clung to her hip and her thigh in a way that announced itself. She did not look down at it again. She had looked once. Once was enough. 8 blocks to the building. 43 minutes until the interview. The math of it was the only thing keeping her moving. She passed a coffee shop with a tap on the side of the building, the kind of outdoor tap with a faded sign that said not for public use that people used anyway. She knelt down on the sidewalk in the burgundy dress. She turned the tap. She cupped her hands. She rinsed the lower half of the stain until the worst of the dirt was lifting. She used a paper napkin from her bag to dab. The stain reduced, became something that could pass for a water spot in dim light, became something that would not pass for a water spot in good light. She stood up. Her phone buzzed. She looked at it. A text from her mother. Praying for you today, my love. She put the phone back in her bag. She kept walking. A man passed her on the sidewalk. He looked at the dress. He did not say anything. He looked away. A woman pushing a stroller passed her in the opposite direction. She looked at the dress. She gave Ruto the small specific smile of one woman to another that means I see you and I am not going to comment. Ruto gave her the same smile back. 3 more blocks. She was thinking about the morning. Not the puddle. Earlier. The morning she had been having before the puddle. She had ironed the dress at 6 a.m. on Nia's ironing board because her own had broken 2 months ago and she had not replaced it because every dollar mattered now. She had laid it on Nia's bed and stood looking at it for a moment. She had thought, this is what I will be wearing when they finally say yes. She had not allowed herself to think about what she would be wearing if they said no. She had eaten a piece of toast standing at Nia's counter because she could not sit down. Nia had come out of the bedroom in her work clothes and looked at her and said, "You're going to be fine. You hear me? You are going to be fine." "I hear you," she had replied. "Bring the dress back tonight clean. I have a date with that engineer at 7. "I know. I will." "Ruto." "Yeah. Go get the job." She had walked out of Nia's apartment at 7:35 a.m. in a dress that fit her perfectly because Nia knew her. At 7:47 a.m. Mercedes had hit a puddle and her morning had become a different morning. 2 more blocks. She passed a black woman in a security guard uniform sitting on a bench outside a parking garage. The woman looked at her. She looked at the dress. She looked at Ruto's face. She did not look away. "Rough morning, baby?" Ruto stopped walking. She had not planned to stop. She stopped anyway. "A car hit a puddle," she said. "Emchum. I have an interview in 27 minutes. The woman looked at her watch. Then she looked at Ruto. "You walking?" "Yes, ma'am." "Where?" the woman asked again. "Tryon Tower. 20th floor." The woman nodded slowly. "Listen to me. You walk into that lobby like that dress was always supposed to look like that. You hear me? Don't apologize for it. Don't explain it. Don't even bring it up. You walk in like you came to do business. They follow your lead, baby. They always follow your lead." "Yes, ma'am." "What's your name?" "Ruto." "Ruto. I'll be sitting on this bench when you walk out. Come tell me how it went." "I will." "Promise me." "I promise." Ruto walked. She did not know it yet, but a woman she would meet for 60 seconds on a Monday morning had just given her the only piece of advice she would need for the next 2 hours. The Tryon Tower lobby was glass and marble and the specific quiet of a place where serious money moves through serious doors. The receptionist behind the curved desk looked up as Rudo approached. The receptionist's eyes went to the dress for half a second. Just half a second. Then back to Rudo's face. "Good morning. Can I help you?" "Good morning. Rudo Moyo. I have an interview at 8:30 with the talent acquisition team. 20th floor." The receptionist typed. She looked at her screen. She looked at Rudo. "You're on the list. I'll let them know you've arrived. There's a seating area to the left. Someone will come down for you." "Thank you." Rudo walked to the seating area. For people were already there. 3 women, 1 man. All in their 20s. All immaculately dressed. The first woman, black pantsuit, hair styled into a sleek bun, the specific composure of someone who has been told her whole life she belongs in rooms like this, glanced at Rudo's dress. She did not say anything. She returned to her phone. The second woman, gray dress, pearls, the kind of pearls that come from being given pearls, was less subtle. She watched Rudo sit down across from her. She watched her for several seconds. Then she said, in the warm tone of someone making conversation, "Oh, the rain caught you?" Something like that. "There hasn't been rain this morning." "No, there hasn't." The woman waited for an explanation. Rudo gave her the small warm smile her grandmother had taught her to give to people who were trying to make her smaller and did not know that they were trying to make her smaller. She did not explain. The woman returned to her phone. The man, tall, charcoal suit, the bored confidence of someone who has been to several of these, looked up from his folder. He looked at Rudo. He nodded at her, professionally, the nod of one candidate to another. He went back to his folder. The third woman did not look at Rudo at all. Rudo sat in the seating area with her bag on her lap and waited. A side door opened. A woman in a navy dress walked into the lobby. Nia. She was carrying a coffee. She was on her way to her own desk. She had not known Rudo's interview was this morning. She had known it was today, but not the time, and she had assumed she would not see her until the evening when the dress came back. She saw Rudo. She saw the dress. For one full second Nia's face did something. It moved through something. The audience saw it. Rudo saw it. Nia saw Rudo see it. Then Nia's face composed itself. She did not approach. She did not wave. She did not acknowledge the friendship visibly in front of the other candidates because she was Rudo's only contact in this building and Rudo would not benefit from looking like she had a contact. But she looked at Rudo for one more second. She gave her the smallest nod. Rudo gave the smallest nod back. Nia walked toward the elevator bank. She got in alone. The elevator doors closed. In the seating area, Rudo took a breath in through her nose and let it out slowly and looked at the marble floor between her shoes. The Pearl woman was looking at her phone. "Oh my God. Do you know how hard it is to find a decent dry cleaner in this city? My boyfriend ruined a Tom Ford shirt last week and the place on Trade Street told him it would be 10 days. 10 days. For one shirt." She was speaking generally. To the air. To no one specifically. The kind of generality that is also specifically aimed. Rudo looked up from the floor. She smiled. "I'm sure it'll come back beautifully." The Pearl woman looked at her. She had not expected a response. She looked at Rudo for a moment longer. She did not say anything else. The third woman finally looked at Rudo. Briefly. Something moved across her face. The audience could not quite name it. Something between pity and shame and admiration that has not decided which one it is yet. A door opened on the far side of the lobby. A woman in a beige skirt suit walked out. "Ruto Moyo?" "Yes." "Helen Marsh. Head of Talent Acquisition. Please come with me." Ruto stood up. She picked up her bag. She walked across the marble lobby in a burgundy dress with a faintly visible water stain on the left hip, and she did not look at her dress, and she did not look at the other candidates, and she did not look at the receptionist. She walked the way the woman on the bench had told her to walk. Helen Marsh held the door open for her. "I'm just going to use the restroom quickly before we head up." "Of course. It's on your left. Take your time." Rudo walked into the bathroom. It was empty. She walked to the sinks. She set her bag on the counter. She looked at herself in the mirror. She looked at the dress. She looked at her face. She turned on the tap. She wet a paper towel. She dabbed at the stain one more time. The stain did not change. The stain was as faded as it was going to get, and it was not going to fade further. She set the paper towel down. She looked at her reflection. She said, quietly, to her own face in the mirror, the sentence that she had not said to anyone in 14 months because there had been nobody to say it to. You belong in this building, Ruto Moyo. You belong in every building you walk into. The dress doesn't decide. You decide. She looked at herself for one more second. She picked up her bag. She walked out. Helen Marsh was waiting in the corridor. They walked to the elevator together. Helen pressed 20. How are you feeling? I'm feeling good. Thank you for asking. It's a busy morning. 2 more candidates after you. We'll do our best to keep things moving. I appreciate it. The elevator climbed. 20 floors. Ruto did not think about the dress. She thought about the woman on the bench. She thought about Nia in the elevator going up alone. She thought about her mother's text. She thought about the 11 days she had not told anyone in this building about. She thought about who she was, not who they thought she was, when the elevator doors opened. The room had 3 chairs on one side of the table and 1 chair on the other. Helen Marsh sat in the center chair. To her right, a younger man, late 20s, the badge on his lapel said Junior Recruiter, Engineering. To her left, a woman in her 30s, the badge said Project Lead, Distributed Systems. Ruto sat in the chair across from them. Helen folded her hands on the table. Thank you for coming in today, Ruto. We've had a chance to review your application. Before we begin, I just wanted to ask, are you all right? You seem to have had an incident this morning. I'm fine. Thank you for asking. It looks like water? Yes. A car hit a puddle on Tryon Street about 45 minutes ago. Oh dear. Did you not have time to go home and change? My home is 45 minutes from here. I would have been late. Helen made a small note. Just a small one. Oh. We appreciate you making it on time. Let's begin. Can you walk us through your interest in this role? Ruto walked them through her interest in the role. She did it the way she had walked through her interest in roles 19 times in the past 14 months. Specific, technical, personal but not personal in the way that exposes you. She talked about her dissertation. She talked about the distributed systems work she had been doing on contract. She talked about the company's recent paper on consensus algorithms and where she thought it was strong and where she thought there was an opening to push further. The woman to Helen's left, the project lead, leaned forward. You read the consensus paper? I read it 3 times. What did you think? I think Section 4 is brilliant. I think Section 6 is overstated. The performance benchmarks in Section 6 are run on workloads that don't reflect production reality. I would have wanted to see the benchmarks rerun with realistic traffic patterns before publishing those conclusions. The project lead looked at her. Section 6 was mine. Then I would say Section 4 is brilliant and I would shake your hand. The project lead almost smiled. Almost. She caught it and put it away. What would you have done differently with Section 6? Ruto told her what she would have done differently with Section 6. For 7 minutes, the conversation was a conversation between 2 people who understood the same thing at the same level. Then Helen Marsh cleared her throat. This is wonderful technical depth. I want to come back to something. The cultural fit dimension of the role. Our clientele are highly sensitive to presentation, professionalism, the image our team carries into client meetings. Can you tell us how you think about that? The project lead's almost smile disappeared. The junior recruiter looked at his notes. Ruto looked at Helen Marsh. I think about it as something that goes both ways. I think about the company a person represents. And I think about the person the company chooses to send. I would never go into a client meeting without thinking carefully about how I would represent the company I worked for. I would also expect the company I worked for to think carefully about how they were representing me. Helen made another small note. How would you handle a situation where a client raised a concern about presentation, for example? I would handle it by being excellent at my job. I find that excellence has a way of correcting first impressions. And if it doesn't? Then the client probably wasn't going to be corrected by anything I did. And the question would become whether the company stood behind me or stood behind the client. That would tell me whether I was working at the right company. The project lead's almost smile came back. Helen Marsh wrote on her notepad. The interview continued. 40 floors above the interview room, on the executive level, David Okafor walked into his office at 8:53 a.m. He had been late getting in. His driver had taken a longer route after the incident on Tryon. They had circled the block twice to see if the young woman in the burgundy dress was still walking, to see if there was anything else he could do for her without overstepping. They had seen her once, 8 blocks down, walking steadily toward the financial district. They had let her be. He sat down at his desk. His assistant had laid out the day's files. He looked at the top file. A board memo about Q3 projections. He moved it aside. The next file. A vendor contract for review. He moved it aside. The third file. A summary of today's interview candidates, 4 files clipped together, each with a CV, a portfolio link, and a panel score sheet ready for end-of-day review. He pulled the stack toward himself. He flipped through the first 3 CVs casually, the candidates he had not seen, the morning's interviews not yet completed. He reached the 4th. He stopped. The photograph in the top corner of the CV. He had seen this face 45 minutes ago on Tryon Street. He read the name. Ruto Moyo. He read the qualifications. First-class computer science degree, University of Cape Town. Published dissertation, Distributed Systems Architecture. 4 years of project experience. 11 months at a Charlotte-based consultancy, 2 years contracting independently with 3 named clients including one Fortune 500. He looked at the photograph again. He set the CV down on his desk. He picked up his phone. Ada, can you come in here for a moment? His assistant came in. Ada Okonkwo, 51, 11 years with him. She knew him well enough to know that his tone meant something. Yes, sir. This candidate, Ruto Moyo. She's interviewing now. Yes, sir. She's in with Helen and the engineering team. Started about 20 minutes ago. Has she applied to us before? I can check. Check. Ada walked out. David Okafor sat at his desk looking at the photograph of the woman whose dress his car had ruined 90 minutes ago. He thought about the way she had refused his money. The specific phrase. Tables could turn. He had been turning it over in his head all the way to the office. Ada came back 4 minutes later. She had 2 more files in her hand. She applied twice before, sir. Both times in the last 14 months. And? Both rejected at the application review stage. Before reaching the interview panel. By whom? Ada looked at the files in her hand. Both rejections were processed by Helen Marsh. The notes are similar on both files. She set the files on his desk. He picked up the first one. He read the rejection note. Strong qualifications. Does not present the right image for our clientele. Recommend not advancing. He picked up the second one. He read it. Qualifications excellent on paper. Concern about cultural alignment with our client base. Recommend not advancing. He read both notes again. He looked up at Ada. How many applications has Helen reviewed in the last 18 months? I would need to pull the full report. Pull it. I want to see every rejection she processed in the last 18 months. CVs included. I want it on this desk in 20 minutes. Yes, sir. Ada walked out. David Okafor sat at his desk. He looked at the rejection notes for a long time. He thought about his mother, Anyanai Okafor. 43 years cleaning offices. The specific tired walk she had at the end of a night shift. The shoes she wore, sturdy, ugly, chosen for standing. The way she would stop by his bedroom door at midnight when she got home and look at him without coming in because she did not want to wake him. The way certain people had spoken to her when he was old enough to notice. The way they had spoken to her while she was standing right there. The specific look she had worn on her face. The warm small smile that did not reach her eyes. The smile she had taught him to give back. He had not thought about that smile in 20 years. He had seen it on Tryon Street 90 minutes ago. Ada came back in 23 minutes. She set a thick folder on his desk. He read it for 40 minutes. He stood up. He walked out of his office. He walked to the elevator. He pressed 20. Ruto was 45 minutes into the interview when the door at the back of the room opened. She did not turn around. The two junior panel members looked up. Their faces did something Ruto did not catch because she was facing Helen and Helen was the one she was speaking to. Helen looked over Ruto's shoulder. Helen's face did something Ruto did catch. A small involuntary tightening at the corner of her mouth. The expression of someone who had not expected what was happening to happen. Don't let me interrupt. David Okafor's voice, from the back of the room. Please. Continue. I'm just observing. Ruto did not turn around. She continued. Helen, slightly off her rhythm now, asked the next question on her sheet. Can you tell us about a professional setback you've experienced and how you handled it? Ruto thought about the question. She thought about 14 months. She thought about 47 applications. She thought about 19 interviews. She thought about her mother in Harare who did not know any of it. She thought about Nia walking the CV physically to the hiring manager's desk because nobody else was going to do it. She thought about the woman on the bench. She thought about the 11 days. She did not say any of that. She said, I think the question of setbacks is the wrong question. Setbacks happen. Everyone has them. The question is what you do the next morning. The question is whether you let what happened yesterday decide what you do today. I've been learning that distinction for a long time. Most days I get it right. Some days I don't. The days I get it right, those are the days that have built whatever I have to bring into this room. I think the question is never whether something goes wrong. The question is whether you let it become the reason you stop or the reason you keep going. The project lead wrote something on her notepad. The junior recruiter looked at Ruto. Helen Marsh did not write anything. From the back of the room, David Okafor said quietly, Thank you. That's a good answer. Ruto turned in her chair. Slowly. The first time she had turned. She saw him. Her face did not move. Whatever she felt, whatever was happening behind her eyes, did not arrive on her face. She said evenly, Thank you, sir. He nodded. He walked to the front of the room. He turned to the three panel members. Helen. Priya. Thank you for your time this morning. I'd like to take this interview from here. Would you give us the room, please? Helen Marsh looked at him. David. We have a process. I know we have a process. I'd still like the room, please. The two junior panel members stood up. Helen Marsh stood up a beat later. They gathered their files. They walked out. Helen was the last one to leave. She paused at the door. She looked at David. Whatever passed between them was a conversation neither of them said aloud. She walked out. The door closed. David Okafor sat down in the chair Helen had been sitting in. He looked at Ruto Moyo across the table. I owe you a better apology than the one I gave you on Tryon Street. Sir, you don't owe me anything. I do. He set a folder on the table. He opened it. I'd like to walk you through what I found in the 40 minutes since I sat down at my desk this morning. With your permission. Ruto looked at the folder. She looked at him. Yes, sir. He walked her through it. He showed her the first rejection note. He showed her the second one. He showed her the 18 months of files he had pulled. He showed her, without naming names of other candidates, the pattern, the specific recurring phrases, cultural alignment, clientele. He showed her the CVs underneath the phrases. Black applicants, African named applicants, Caribbean named applicants, brown applicants. The pattern was not subtle when the files were read together. It had only been invisible because the files had never been read together. Ruto read the notes. She read them slowly. When she was done, she put both hands flat on the table. She said, Sir, I don't know what to do with this information. I know, he said. I came here this morning hoping to get an interview. I came here hoping I would be considered fairly. I didn't. Her voice stopped for a second. She found it again. I didn't know I had been considered twice before. I didn't know that. I want to be careful what I do with it. That's the correct instinct. Why are you telling me this? She asked. Because you deserve to know that the system failed you twice before it worked. Because you deserve to know that your qualifications were never the question. And because I would not be able to live with myself if I hired you today without telling you what I found this morning. I would always wonder whether the only reason I went to find your file was because my car had ruined your dress. I want you to know that your file should have been read on its merits twice before. And it wasn't. The fact that I read it today is an accident of weather and timing. The fact that anyone should have read it carefully is not an accident. It's what we owed you. Ruto did not say anything for a long moment. Then she said, "What happens to her?" "Helen." "Yes. Helen will not have hiring authority going forward. There will be a process review. A blind screening protocol for first-round applications. She'll be moved to a role where her strengths can be used and her weaknesses cannot continue to filter people the way they have been. There will not be a public reckoning. I do not believe public reckonings produce better hiring. I believe better systems produce better hiring." And the people she rejected. Before me, David Okafor looked at her. "That's the question I was hoping you would ask. I don't have an answer yet. I'm going to find one. I'd like your help building it. If you're willing." Ruto looked at him. "Sir, I came here this morning for a job." "I know. Are you offering me the job I came for?" "I'm offering you a different one. The one you came for is a mid-level project role. After reading your dissertation, the consensus paper exchange you had with Priya, and what I just watched in the back of this room, I'd like you to take the senior project lead position my team has been looking to fill for 8 months. The compensation is significantly higher. The visa sponsorship is immediate. The OPT conversion paperwork can be filed by your second week." Ruto looked at him. "How do you know about my OPT?" "I read your file. The full one. While I was finding the other things. Your OPT expires in 11 days. 10 now," she said. 10 now, he repeated. Ruto Moyo, 26 years old, Zimbabwean American, the daughter of a woman in Harare who had been praying for her this morning, the friend of a woman in Charlotte who had given her a dress for an interview, the candidate of a company that had told her twice she did not present the right image, looked across a table at the man who had ruined her dress 90 minutes ago and who was now offering her a future. She said quietly, "Tables could turn." He said, "You did tell me." Ruto walked out of the building at 11:14 a.m. She walked across the lobby, past the marble, past the curved reception desk, past the seating area where the 4 other candidates were no longer waiting, past the receptionist who looked at her this time differently, though Ruto did not yet know why. She walked out the front doors into the Charlotte morning. She stood on the sidewalk for a moment. She turned and walked west. The woman in the security guard uniform was sitting on the bench outside the parking garage where Ruto had left her 2.5 hours ago. She saw Ruto coming. She did not stand up. She just watched her walk. When Ruto reached the bench, she sat down beside the woman without being invited and without asking. The woman looked at her. "Well, I got the job. They offered me senior project lead. They're sponsoring my visa. They're filing the paperwork in week 2. I have a job. I have a real job. My OPT was going to lapse in 10 days. I have a job." The woman in the uniform looked at her. She did not smile. She put her hand on Ruto's hand on the bench between them. "What did I tell you, baby? You told me they follow my lead. What else? You told me to walk in like the dress was always supposed to look like that." She squeezed Ruto's hand once. "You walked in like that?" "I did." "Then you got the job because of who you are. Don't ever forget that. Whatever else they tell you in there, whatever else they want you to believe about how it happened, you walked into that building in a wet dress and you walked out with a job because of who you are. Hold on to that." "Yes, ma'am. What's your name again?" "Ruto." "Ruto. I'm Patricia. Don't forget my name either. I want to know how it goes." "I won't forget. Get up off this bench. Go tell whoever you need to tell." Ruto stood up. She walked away from the bench. She walked 2 blocks before she pulled out her phone. She called Nia first. "How did it go?" Nia asked. "Nia, are you sitting down?" "Ruto, how did it go?" "I got the job. Not the one I interviewed for. The one above it. Senior project lead. They're sponsoring my visa." There was a sound on the other end of the phone that was not a word. "Nia." You're not lying to me. I'm not lying to you. You're not lying to me. Nia. Oh my God. Oh my God. Rudo. Oh my God. Nia. Yes. The dress there's a stain on it. From the puddle. I tried to get it out. It's not coming out. I'm so sorry. I'll buy you a new one. I'll buy you 10 new ones. Nia was laughing now. The specific laugh of someone whose body has not decided whether it is laughing or crying, so it is doing both at the same time. Rudo. You ruined my dress walking into our company in a borrowed dress and walked out with a job above mine. Nia. Keep the dress. What? Keep the dress. Don't return it. That dress is going in a frame on your wall someday. Keep it. You hear me? Don't you dare bring me that dress. Nia. Go call your mother. I will. Go call her right now. I will. I love you. I love you too. She ended the call. She stood on the sidewalk in Charlotte at 11:34 a.m. and she called her mother in Harare. The call connected on the third ring. My love. Mama. Emchum. I have something to tell you. She told her. She told her about the OPT she had not mentioned. She told her about the 14 months she had not mentioned. She told her about the puddle, the dress, the bench, the bathroom mirror, the interview, the back of the room, the files, the job, the visa. Her mother listened. Her mother did not interrupt once. When Rudo finished, her mother said one sentence in Shona. Mwari hasvaiken guvaik. God does not arrive late. Rudo stood on the sidewalk on Tryon Street and cried for 90 seconds. The specific crying of someone who has been holding something for 14 months and is finally able to set it down. When she could speak again, she said, Mama, I have to go. I have to do something. Go, my love. She ended the call. She walked back to the bench. Patricia was still there. Patricia. Yes, baby. What do you do at 3 o'clock? I clock out. Will you come somewhere with me? Where? There's a woman at the front of the lobby. Receptionist. I want to introduce you. I want her to know your name. I want every person in that building to know your name. I want you to come with me on my first day and I want them to see who walked me in. Patricia looked at her. She nodded once. What day? 2 weeks from Monday. I'll be here. She walked into the building at 8 a.m. The same lobby. The same marble. The same receptionist. But she walked in differently now. Not because of the dress. The dress was different. A Navy one Nia had insisted on buying her with the first paycheck advance the company had wired her 3 days after the interview to help her settle her affairs before the start date. The shoes were different. The bag was different. The everything was different. But that was not why she walked in differently. She walked in differently because the woman beside her was Patricia. In her security uniform. Off duty. Carrying a small brown paper bag that contained 2 slices of pound cake she had brought from a bakery in West Charlotte that morning. One for Rudo. One for herself. The receptionist looked up. She saw Rudo. She saw Patricia. She did not know who Patricia was. She looked at the security uniform. She made the small involuntary judgment of the woman she had been 2 weeks ago. Then she caught herself making it. She remembered who she was looking at. She looked at Rudo. Good morning. Welcome. You're Ruto Moyo. First day. Senior project lead, engineering. Of course. Welcome. And your guest. This is Patricia Williams. She is my friend. She is going to walk me up to the 20th floor and have her cake at my desk, and then she is going to leave. I called ahead. Mr. Okafor's office cleared her in. The receptionist looked at her screen. She found the note. She looked up at Patricia. Her professional warmth came back to her. The real one this time, not the half-second decision warmth she had given Rudo 2 weeks ago. Of course. Welcome, Ms. Williams. Please. Both of you. Rudo and Patricia walked to the elevator bank. The elevator doors opened. They got in. The doors closed. On the 20th floor, Nia was waiting. She was crying before the doors opened. Patricia, who had never met Nia, looked at the woman in tears in front of the elevator, looked at Ruto, looked back at Nia, and said, You must be the dress. Nia laughed through the crying. I must be the dress. The three women walked down the corridor of the engineering floor together. Rudo's desk was at the end of the corridor. It had a window. The window faced east. The morning sun was coming through it. On her desk, a small notebook, a company laptop, a nameplate, and a small framed photograph that her mother had texted her the night before. Rudo at her university graduation in Cape Town 4 years ago, holding her certificate, the only picture her mother had of her in her cap and gown. She had not asked anyone to put the photograph there. Ada Okonkwo had asked Rudo's mother for it. Rudo looked at the desk. She looked at Patricia. She looked at Nia. She did not cry. She took her seat. She turned on the laptop. She got to work. Rudo Moyo had been carrying excellent character for 14 months in rooms that had been measuring her by everything except character. A car hit a puddle on Tryon Street on a Monday morning in spring. And the world finally measured her correctly. Not because the puddle revealed her. The puddle did not reveal her. She had been the same person at 7:47 a.m. that she was at 7:48 a.m. The puddle revealed nothing. The puddle moved her file to the desk of someone who had been raised by a woman who knew the small smile she had been wearing on that street. A man whose mother had cleaned offices for 43 years recognized the smile of a woman who had refused his money. He went to his office. He read a file. Then he read 18 months of files. Then he stood up and walked to the back of an interview room. The thing that happened that morning happened because a man walked into a building and asked a question he should have asked years before. It happened because a young woman from Zimbabwe with 10 days left on her work authorization walked 8 blocks in a stained dress and refused to apologize for it. It happened because a security guard on a bench told her how to walk. It happened because a designer on the 7th floor walked a CV to a hiring manager 3 months earlier and said give her one chance. It happened because a mother in Harare had been praying for her daughter every morning for 14 months without knowing what her daughter was actually walking through. Kindness produces things. Quietly. Across years. In rooms nobody sees. Through people whose names you do not yet know. The harvest does not always come in trucks. Sometimes it comes in a Mercedes that hits a puddle on a Monday morning. And the only thing the person standing on the sidewalk in the splash dress has to do is keep walking. Because tables could turn. They could turn for you. They could turn today. This story reminds us of something simple. Character is not what you show when everything is going well. It is what you show when the water hits you and you still have somewhere to be. What do you think about Helen Marsh? She was not cruel. She did not yell. She did not insult anyone. She simply wrote 2 words on file after file for 18 months. Alignment. Was what she was doing worse because it was quiet? Or do you think quiet bias is easier to forgive than loud bias? And what about David Okafor? He built that company. He hired Helen. He had not been watching closely enough. Do you think he did enough? Or should he have done more? And Patricia, the security guard on the bench. She was in this story for 90 seconds, and she changed everything. Have you ever had a Patricia? Someone who showed up at the exact moment you needed them and told you exactly what you needed to hear? Tell me about them in the comments. I read every single one. If this story moved you, please give it a like and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe to African Truth and Tales and turn on the notification bell so you are among the first when the next story drops. Another powerful story is coming soon. Thank you for watching. I am grateful for every single one of you.